Hello, my friend. Welcome to your sleep story. I'm an Irish storyteller, and it's my great privilege to be the voice that you listen to as you go to sleep tonight. As you may know by now, I was born in Dublin, a great city, a city that I love, the city where I met my wife, the city that I used to guide people around in my very own walking tours. It's a city of literature, a city of great wit and warmth, and over the last little while I've been writing a poem about it, which I will present to you tonight. I hope it brings you into a gentle, easy place as you hear about the day in a life of an old man walking Dublin streets 100 years ago on a rainy day. Okay, let's do the relaxation session first, which will take a few minutes before tonight's sleep poem. I'm going to count down from 10 to 1, and as I do, allow yourself to let go more and more. 10. Feel the support of the bed beneath you, or the floor, or whatever you lie upon tonight. Really feel that support. And beneath all of that, there is the support of the earth, our home, our constant support. And notice that the more you become aware of that support, the more you can let go. The more you can sink into this moment. 9. You are safe. Know that tonight my voice is nothing but a friend, a guide of kindness that will only ever take you to safe places. Allow my voice to be an anchor of peace, guiding you to beautiful, wondrous places. 8. Become aware of your body now. And as you do, just become aware of your breath for a moment. Perhaps take a deep breath in through your nose when you're ready. And breathe out when you're ready. And maybe another deep breath. In. And out. And as you become aware of that breath, the breathing out, with each out-breath, let go a little more. Maybe move through your body check where you're holding tension or pain. Maybe it's in your feet, your lower legs, your thighs, your belly, your chest, your back, or shoulders, your hands, your arms, your neck, or maybe you're like me. Do you hold the tension in your face? Just let it all go now. 7. The day is done. Whatever has been, has been. Whatever will be, will be. Whatever thoughts you may be having, don't fight them. Just see them for what they are. Thoughts. A symptom of being human. And as they arrive, welcome them. And then just let them go. Watch them float away like leaves on a moonlit river, or clouds passing through a starlit sky. Six. This is your moment. This is your time. You deserve rest. You deserve peace. There is nowhere to be now. Nowhere to go. No obligations. Absolutely nothing to do but settle into this moment. Five. Peace lives within you. It is always there. It's just waiting to be found, waiting to be felt. Maybe you can find it tonight. Maybe you can journey to that peace with your mind's eye now. Maybe you find it in your chest, or in your head. Wherever you might find it, know that it's a constant friend. For perhaps feel a little gratitude now. Gratitude for the simple things, for the shelter you have tonight, whatever it may be. For the use of your body, for the ability to just lie here and listen to a sleep story. For those you love and who love you, know that you are loved, whoever you are and wherever you are tonight. Three. Begin to engage with your imagination now. Begin to see Dublin on a rainy day, on a day in the past, in a place and time far away from all that you know. There is a warmth here, a welcome. 2. Check in with your body one more time now. Releasing anywhere that you're still holding on. And 1. Completely letting go now. As I tell you tonight's sleep story. In an aging house near Thomas Street, he woke before the dawn. The walls held years of stories past, the floors a little worn. A kettle sat upon the range, a chair beside the grate, and everything about the room spoke quiet, steady fate. The ceiling bore a gentle sag, the plaster cracked with age, and morning light slipped through the glass as if it knew the stage. His boots were by the wooden bed, his coat upon a nail, and winter draughts that whispered through could never make him frail. He swung his legs onto the floor and let his breathing slow. The chill beneath his feet was one his body seemed to know. He rubbed his hands, then reached for tea, the ritual of his day, and listened to the muted world that waited on its way. The house had held him half a life. Its corners shaped his own. From nights of noise on Dublin streets to days he spent alone. But still it felt like solid ground, a place to stand and start, a space that held him kindly as he rose with steady heart. He buttoned up his coat and stepped out softly to the lane. A gentle drizzle met his face, but never felt like strain. The awnings of the shop fronts kept a dry path at his side, and Dublin, in the early hour, watched him with quiet pride. Along the stretch of Thomas Street he carried on his way, past bakers pulling shutters down and traders starting day. A horse cart clattered far ahead, the driver humming low, and puddles held the morning light in one unbroken glow. He tipped his hat to neighbours who were sweeping at their doors, the kind of nod exchanged by folks who've lived through many chores. And though the rain kept falling soft, he hardly felt its touch, for shelter from the eaves above protected him as such. The shop sign swayed with passing breeze, the cobbles slick but kind, and he stepped with care and comfort, leaving heavy thoughts behind. For soon he saw the rising shape that anchored half the street, Christ Church standing strong ahead, where ancient pathways meet. He paused a moment under arch of stone, grown old with years, the sound of rain upon the roof, like quiet volunteers. And though he did not linger long, he took the view in slow, the worn stone walls, the city's pulse, the life he'd come to know. He left the grounds of Christchurch with his collar pulled up tight. The steady rain along the street, a soft and constant sight. It tapped against the window panes of shops that lined his way, and followed him with patient steps as dawn replaced the grey. Along the curve of High Street he kept close beneath the eaves, the weather falling straight and sure across the slanted roofs and leaves. But he still managed most the time to keep his shoulders dry, his pace unhurried, calm and old, beneath the brightening sky. The Dublin sound was rising now. The carts, the boots, the calls, the rain that met the cobblestones in soft repeating falls. The voices carried hints of wit that only locals share, the kind of tone a Dubliner keeps tucked beneath their care. He crossed toward Dame Street slowly, with the showers still holding fast, each drop a small reminder of the many years now past. For this was early century, a time of horse and steel, a city finding modern shape while keeping something real. And soon the castle came in view, through rain that never tired, its towers standing watch above the roads the old man wandered, steady and inspired. He paused beneath the archway, where the guard stood with their posts, the rainfall threading through the air, like quiet Dublin hosts. He rested by the railing, where the stones were slick and worn, a lifetime's worth of mornings, held in streets where he'd been born. And though his bones were slower now, his eyes still carried grace, the look of one who knows a town in every hidden place. He lingered by the castle, where the rain kept steady hold, the walls a mix of newer stone and arches worn and old, a place where rooms once filled with gowns and bows of high regard, where debutantes would take their turn while music floated hard. He pictured formal evenings in the halls of long ago, the candles lined in polished rows, the measured dancers' flow, and all the chatter trailing soft through corridors of pride, a world he'd never walked within, but often viewed outside. For here the city's stories lived, the bright, the dark, the brave, from days of quiet ceremonies to moments others gave. The rising left its mark within those walls of stone and rain, a memory carried through the streets in whispers sharp as grain. He glanced toward where the statue stood, that figure raised up high, her posture fixed, her quiet face set firmly to the sky. And though old Dublin had its jokes, the kind you'd hear in pubs at night, he kept his smile close to himself, amused but staying right. The rainfall trickled down her form, the droplets tracing a line, as if the weather knew her stance and bowed in its design. And he, an aging Dubliner, with many years now past, felt something warm in recognizing how the city holds its past. He stood a while beneath the arch, the castle breathing rain, its courtyard shining softly, like a thought he can't explain. For all the changes time had brought, this place remained the same, a landmark of the Dublin he had loved before he knew its name. He turned from Castle Yard and walked through rain that would not clear, his steps along old Dame Street slow, each footfall calm and sure and near. The carts rolled by in steady lines, the drivers soaked but fine, and shop fronts blinked their lantern light in early morning shine. Ahead he saw the college gates, the pillars strong and wide, the threshold of a world where thought and time could sit beside. And even though he'd never studied there in younger days, he held a quiet fondness for its long and watchful ways. He paused beneath the entrance, where the rain kept steady beat, the stone beneath his boots now slick, the guards in tidy seat. And with a nod he stepped within, the courtyard opening grand, a space where generations walked, with books in careful hand. The grounds were washed in morning grey, the air both cool and clean, and students rushed from hall to hall, with minds still sharp and keen, their coats pulled tight, their papers held against the steady rain, their faces lit with thoughts of things he'd never sought to gain. He made his way past Fellows Square, the bell tower rising true, its shape a mark of Dublin's heart that every scholar knew. And though the drizzle blurred the view, he felt its old command, the way a building keeps its poise, no matter how you stand. He wandered by the library, where centuries found their bed, the stories kept in leather rows, the words the long gone said, and something in its quiet weight made him reflect once more how brief a single life can feel beside so much in store. He thought of younger Dubliners who passed these walls each day, who carried hopes he once had held before they slipped away. And though his body slowed with age, his heart still held a spark, a fondness for the city's youth, its humour and its mark. Inside the grounds he felt at ease, though rain kept to its fall, for Trinity had stood through storms far greater than them all, and walking there in steady steps, he let his breathing slow, content to be a visitor to years he'd come to know. He stepped back through the college gate and out onto the street, the rainfall tapping softly with its long unbroken beat. He turned toward the busy stretch where merchants set their trade, and Grafton Street began to rise in colours newly made. The cobbles glistened underfoot, reflections running thin, as early stalls were lifted up and pulling shoppers in. A singer tuned his battered strings beneath a canvas sheet, his voice a low and gentle sound that drifted through the street. The scent of bread from cafe doors mixed with the morning air, and passers-by in woolen coats moved on with Dublin flair. A mother pulled her shawl in tight, her children close behind, their laughter bright despite the rain, their steps both quick and kind. He nodded at the newsboy who was shouting through the rain. The headlines held in ink that smudged but never lost their plain. And though he rarely bought a sheet, he always liked the cry, the rhythm of a city's voice that never seemed to die. He watched the college students pass with books held to their chest, their eyes alive with restless plans, their talk in lively jest. And in their pace he saw the man he once had hoped to be, a boy who dreamed of learning more, but kept to working free. He leaned beneath a storefront ledge where shelter met his need, and let the rain roll down the tiles in quiet, constant speed. And though his coat was damp around the edges of his frame, he carried on with steady steps, his spirit much the same. For Grafton Street in rain had been a comfort through the years, a place where life moved loud and warm despite its troubles, fears. And walking there once more today, he felt its gentle sway, the pulse of Dublin's beating heart that guided him each day. He turned toward St. Stephen's Green, where trees stood patient in the rain, their branches holding pools of light along the walking lane. The gates were open to the street, the paths washed clean and clear, and Dublin's oldest city park felt calm and always near. He stepped beneath the archway, where the traffic softened low, and let the steady rainfall guide the pace he chose to go. The pond ahead was rippling where the ducks moved in a line, their feathers slick with morning rain, yet keeping form just fine. He smiled to think of stories told from days of bitter strife, when rifles faced each other here and danger shaped the life. Yet even then the keeper came with feed held in his hand, and fighters paused their shooting so the ducks could claim the land. He pictured that small moment, how the guns went still and cold, how men on either side held back while simple duty rolled. A city full of conflict, yet this truth still carried through, that even in the hardest times some kindness found its cue. He wandered on toward the Shelbourne, where the tall red windows shone, its doorway touched by decades past, by nights long since withdrawn. The hotel looked across the green with quiet, steady pride, a witness to the passing years and all they held inside. The rain kept to its rhythm as he walked the gravel path, the benches slick with morning drops, the lawn in muted bath. And though his coat grew heavy now, he hardly seemed to mind, for something in the park's old heart felt gentle, real, and kind. He watched a pair of students cross with books tucked from the rain, their talk a soft two-person tune he couldn't quite retain. And near the pond an older pair stood close beneath one hood, the kind of everyday small grace he'd always understood. For Stephen's Green in rainfall held the city's quiet soul, a place where life in all its forms kept moving, hole to hole. And walking there, he felt once more the truth he'd always seen, that Dublin's strength was made of hearts and moments in between. He left the green by Marion Row, the rainfall firm and light, and turned toward the square where rows of Georgian homes shone bright, their windows tall and even, set in brick of russet tone, a pattern shaped by centuries the city claimed as its own. The railings framed the park ahead, a tidy, ordered square, and though the rain fell without pause, it softened nothing there, for Marion kept its dignity in every measured line, a testament to Dublin's craft from days of old design. He thought of how long years ago this place was closed and kept, a garden meant for wealthy folk, while others passed and wept. The gates were locked to common hands, the grass reserved and clean, a symbol of the social ranks that shaped the old routine. But still the beauty lingered in the symmetry of space, the doorways painted bold and proud, each one a guarded place. And though he'd never lived within those houses standing tall, he always felt their presence as a gift that framed the hall. He paused before the corner house, where legends found their start. For here young Oscar Wilde once roamed, with mischief in his heart. Number 1 still held its poise, despite the steady rain. A doorway touched by voices past, that left their lasting stain. He pictured Wilde in earlier days, a boy with restless mind, who wandered through the family rooms with wit both sharp and kind, and knew that Dublin even then had shaped him in its way, a city full of character that urged a soul to play. He walked along the railings, watching drops land on the green, and thought how time had opened gates where privilege once had been. Now children ran where lords had walked, now benches lined the shade, the city offering equal ground where once the rules were made. The rain kept to its rhythm, falling soft on brick and leaf, and he, an aging Dubliner, with memory thick as grief, felt grateful for the gentle walk through history's open door, a journey through the city's past that still could stir him sore. He left the square with steady steps, the rain his constant guide, and made his way down Lincoln Place, with time on either side. The college walls ran close again, with memories in their stone, and Dublin moved around him in a rhythm all its own. He headed toward the pharmacy that many folks still knew, a tiny shop on sheltered lane where history drifted through. Swenny's, with its wooden shelves and jars along the wall, a place where tales from earlier days still lived in quiet call. He pictured one old story of a man who once stepped in, to buy a small bar scented bright, a simple morning spin. And though he never walked that tale himself in chaptered prose, he smiled to think how Dublin keeps such moments as it grows. The door still held its glassy front, the counter worn and neat. The rain ran down the outside pane in long, unbroken beat. He paused beneath the awning there, his hat pulled firm and low, and let the memory of the place shape how the morning'd go. Then onward down Westland Row he moved through steady rain, past houses packed in terraced lines, where life was always plain. A church bell rang in muted tones that drifted to the street, and echoed through the wet stone walls in slow repeating beat. The trains beside the station hummed their early iron tune, the engines warming patiently beneath the silver noon. He felt the tremor in the ground, the rails beneath the day, and carried on toward the docks where river found its way. He followed where the road dipped down and widened to the quay, the Liffey stretching long and dark as far as he could see. The water moved in patient strokes beneath the steady rain, a sight that held his breathing still, then eased it once again. He rested by the railing, with his hands upon the cold, a Dubliner in older age with stories left untold, and something in the river's pull, unchanged through loss and cheer, reminded him that Dublin's heart had always lingered here. He followed close beside the quay, the rain in steady fall, and made his way toward O'Connell Bridge where river met it all. The lampposts cast their muted glow on water running wide, and horses crossed in careful steps along the trembling tide. He paused upon the centre span and looked toward the street, O'Connell Street in morning rain, with slow and softened beat. The trams moved through the silver haze, their bells a gentle sound, and people hurried underneath with boots on shining ground. The GPO stood firm as ever, quiet in the rain, its pillars scarred from earlier days when hope and hurt were plain. He'd lived to hear the stories told by those who saw the fight, how Dublin shook with shouts and fire through each unsettled night. He let his gaze climb upward, where the tall old column rose, Nelson standing watch above the city he once chose, a figure from another world, still fixed in stone and pride, though many joked about the way he faced the rolling tide. For years that statue marked the street, the landmark bold and high, a pointer for the wandering soul beneath the Dublin sky. And standing there, the old man felt the weight of time unfold, the lives that crossed this avenue, the stories never told. He left the bridge with steady steps, his coat drawn firm once more, and made his way along the quay toward where the arches bore. The halfpenny bridge rose pale and light through rain's unbroken thread, its iron curve a gentle mark where countless lives had led. He watched a pair walk over it, with umbrellas held low, their laughter drifting faintly through the hum of city flow. And as he neared the steps himself, he felt that pull again, the tender way that Dublin's heart still held him in the rain. He crossed the halfpenny bridge and turned along the riverside, the Liffey running dark and full beneath the steady tide. The rainfall traced a constant path upon the water's skin, and gulls moved slow in drifting arcs as morning settled in. He walked with quiet steps toward home, his route an old refrain, past merchant doors and warehouse walls still glistening with rain. The city spoke in muted tones, familiar in its ways, a comfort drawn from years of walking through its crowded maze. He thought about the river and the hills where it began, the Wicklow slopes where small streams formed and gathered as they ran. From mountain cuts and sheltered glens, the waters found their pace, then carried all of Dublin's life into a single place. For every soul who lived here felt that pull in some small part, the river like a quiet thread that tied them at the heart. From scholars near the college gates to traders on the quay, the Liffey shaped their every day and set their spirits free. He turned toward the Liberties, where stone met brewing air. The Guinness gates in towering black stood solid, proud and square. The scent of malt along the street rose warm despite the rain, a sign he'd nearly reached the end of his long wandering chain. He paused to watch the workers move through puddles on the ground, their carts and crates and steady hands all keeping with the sound. For here the craft of Dublin lived in barrels, vats, and steam, a labour passed through generations, shaped by pride and dream. And as he walked the final stretch toward the narrow lane he knew, he felt the weight of Dublin's past in every place he drew. A city built from laughter, loss, from hardship, song and grace. A home that held him year by year in its familiar space. He reached his door by evening light, the rain still holding true. The lamps along the narrow lane cast out their steady hue. He wiped his boots upon the step, then stepped inside once more, and let the quiet of his home pull softly at the door. The kettle sang its gentle note. The fire began to glow, and in that small familiar room he felt the night move slow. The day had carried many miles, yet none had felt unkind, for walking through his city always eased his restless mind. He sat beside the fading fire and let his breathing fall, listening to the rainfall tap along the outer wall. And as the shadows deepened on the timber near his chair, his thoughts turned to the centuries that shaped the city's air. He pictured Viking longboats where the river met the sand, the smoke of early hearths that warmed a raw and rising land. He saw the narrow medieval streets where markets used to swell, the bells of old foundations with their deep and winding knell. He traced the Georgian windows in his mind's familiar eye, the terraces that lifted up like chapters rising high, the doorways bright with painted gloss, the railings trimmed and neat, the quiet pride that framed each house along each ordered street. He thought of all the voices lost, of those who fought and fell, of moments carved in Dublin stone that no one lives to tell. Yet here he sat, an aging man, with all that in his keep, the city's long and stubborn pulse still thrumming soft and deep. The rain continued gently as he climbed into his bed, the fire's last glow slipping low beside the embers red. And lying there he felt a peace that only years can give, a comfort in remembering the place where he would live. For Dublin, in its many forms, had held him from the start. From Viking shore to modern street, it shaped his steady heart. and as he closed his weary eyes beneath the evening's spread, he felt the whole long life of it move softly through his head. The city breathed around him, with the rain against the night, a world of stories settling down beyond his fading sight, and drifting into quiet rest, he let the ages keep, while Dublin, old and endlessly alive, watched gently as he'd sleep.